Back when the Secret of Monkey Island Special Edition got released, I remember reading some forum discussion about what would be next on the remaster list. Apart from LeChuck's Revenge, that seemed fairly obvious. And yet no word on a Curse of Monkey Island remake. That makes me sad. In this discussion, Dave the Tentacle got mentioned more than once, but I didn't see it happening. The first two Monkey Island games are classics, no question there, but they haven't aged as well graphically. They had art styles which were running up against the limits of technology available at the time. So between the simplistic VGA style of Monkey 1 and the scanned-in, not retouched properly backgrounds of Monkey 2, there was absolutely room for improvement. But Dave the Tentacle? It already had voice acting, the graphics already looked great to my pixel art loving eyes. And even though this is one of my favourite games ever, which I can go back and replay any damn day of the week, although about 5 or 6 times in 1 month is pushing it a little, I simply don't think this game was the one that needed the remastered treatment. In other news, I won't be trying out the stock market anytime soon. Dave the Tentacle Remastered comes to us courtesy of Double Fine Productions. I'd say they'd already done good work on Grim Fandango Remastered, but that was in 3D. That's a fairly different type of project, and it doesn't necessarily mean they'll do as well here. That and they decided to give Grim Fandango Remastered an OpenGL 3.3 requirement for no good goddamn reason. Nonetheless, you can see once again that one of the head honchos of the original is coming back to remaster it, and that makes me happy. The graphics are redrawn, the audio is cleaned up, the music is improved, the interface has a modern day revamp, and as per tradition you can play it like it's 1993 all over again. More or less, we'll get to that. It's been playable in ScumVM for quite a while, but it's the first time Dave the Tentacle has been released digitally. We've had to wait 23 years for this, so it'd better be good. We'll kick off with the first in a long line of comparisons to the Monkey Island Special Editions, and it's the graphics. The mistake with Monkey Special Edition was to try and enforce an art style which some people didn't think matched the original. Dave the Tentacle Remastered adheres very strictly to the original art style, and it kind of proves my point I made earlier about the art not needing updating, which they've proven by updating it, but shut up. In fairness to the Special Edition team, an upscale style remaster would not have worked there, especially with those character sprites, but they still ruffled a moderate percentage of feathers with what they ended up putting out. For me, it was the background scrolling at 4 times the frame rate of the character animations, but anyway. All you need to do for Tentacle Remastered is set the interface option to anything except auto, go back into the game and press F1. Then you'll see how well this matches up. There are a few bits that look wrong, not by much, but the original art would sometimes fudge their pixels to give a rough representation within the limited resolution they had, and when that's interpreted literally, it looks wrong. In 99% of cases, it looks like the original game, but better, which is pretty nice. Next is the interface. You get the choice of all the damn verbs as they were before, or a verb wheel when you right click. I thought it'd be something more like Monkey Special Edition where you'd hold down the button and move the mouse left and right to pick the verb, but you right click once and your mouse is left wandering free. On the basis of not constricting mouse movement, I think I prefer this implementation. Didn't affect me too much since I usually pick my verbs with the keyboard shortcuts, but it seems fine. You can also scroll through the verbs using the mouse wheel, better than frantic right clicking I suppose. Just because there's a better option, it doesn't mean you can't include one more. It might be more to somebody else's taste and the other options are still there. Hooray! The inventory and access to the other kids are hidden away in the bottom left corner, accessible by clicking on said corner, by pressing middle mouse, or by pressing the I key. Keyboard shortcuts for inventory, finally! Thank you! I don't know who, but someone. And the one that trips me up the most often when playing older games, the mouse wheel is usable on the inventory once your pockets are bulging with more than 10 items. Only works if you're using the new interface for some reason. Similarly weird is object highlighting when you press shift. It's a nice little addition which doesn't cover people you can talk to and only works when the remastered graphics are on. Like I said, weird. Last of the remaster trilogy is the audio, and this one is interesting. Less so for the voice acting, they've cleaned up the original recordings, they sound better, not much to talk about. As for the music, they didn't record an orchestral soundtrack this time, instead updating the original MIDI music. Adequate explanation time? MIDI music is essentially a list of instructions like make violin play a C-sharp note for 2 seconds. The noise that those instructions produced would depend on whatever sound card you had, so different sound cards would play the same MIDI music quite differently. What Double Fine have done is to update the sound font used, which is where the actual sound data was kept. Given that it's been 23 damn years, the new sound font has samples of a much higher quality than could have been achieved back in the day. The reason for doing this instead of getting the robos out is to keep compatibility with iMuse. Oh Christ, more explanations. iMuse was a system that blended different pieces of music together seamlessly. That was actually rather painless. I didn't even realise Dave the Tentacle used iMuse at all, to be honest. It's not exactly on the level of Woodtick from Monkey Island 2, but apparently this is so. Transitioning between pieces of music is far easier to do in MIDI than with pre-recorded music, so that's what we have. Certainly sounds better overall to my ears, but I honestly don't have a big preference one way or the other. So that's an explanation of all them remastered bits. You can switch between the two styles at any time by pressing F1, which even works on the title screen, by the way. Whilst most developers would have left it at that, Double Fine clearly decided they could do better and let you pick any combination of the three you want. New graphics, new interface, old music? Done. New graphics, old interface? Sure. Old graphics, new interface? Surprisingly, yes. They even have low-res assets for the new interface elements. That's really cute. You guys know how I feel about devs putting in some extra effort, so you know that this makes me happy. Shame the lovely transition effect doesn't apply to the verb inventory bar. If you're playing with the remastered graphics on, you also get a bunch of additional effects like water ripples or floating leaves that just about make it worth recording at 60 FPS. Or it would be, but it kept freezing, so I had to record it at 30. Sorry about that. Not like the rest of the game animation is any smoother than before anyway. Then again, a lot of you have probably already bought it. But if I go too far down that train of thought, I'll start thinking this entire video was a pointless endeavour. And for one last bugbear, my laptop had trouble making the game produce sound. Seemed to be a coin flip as to whether it was going to play out of both speakers, one speaker, crackly sound, or no sound at all. You know, one of those four-sided coins. Haven't had any issues with that recently, but I've mostly been playing it on my desktop instead, and that never had any sound issues with this. If you have problems, you can keep track of the bugs people have reported on the Double Fine support page, which is very transparent and open of them, even if half the replies are "we're looking into it" and nothing else. But bear in mind, any bugs present in the original game are being set at the lowest priority and may not get fixed at all. Aside from all these extras, the game you know and, if you have good taste, love, is still there, and that includes being able to play Maniac Mansion on Ed Edison's computer, which technically gives it a leg up on Scum VM, since that makes it add the game separately. It's not the same version that came with Day of the Tentacle, however. I doubt it's a deal breaker for anyone, but I'll mention it anyway. On top of that, there's the concept art browser and the dev commentary, which is a little sparse this time, but has a good variety of people on board, including the original artists and musicians, so that's pretty entertaining. Overall, this is a really nice remaster that not only updates the original faithfully, but lets you play it the way you want to. Unless you want to play it in the original aspect ratio, or you want more than one save slot in Maniac Mansion. When they first announced what they were doing with the music, I was a little hesitant to call it a good move, but it's worked out well. The reason I haven't done a point and quickie on this game is because I think it's one of the best, and I would rather take the time to do it justice rather than my usual 1 month minus distractions time period. I've tried to keep my fanboy tendencies in check and focus on the remaster itself, but I can't deny the happiness that being able to buy Day of the Tentacle digitally has brought me. It's a great game that's been left in the past for too long, at least as far as companies are concerned. We never forgot about it. So this is the first and possibly only game in remakes and remasters that I'll recommend to everybody. If you're wanting to try a point and click adventure, this is a fantastic choice for a first buy. Even if you're one of those strange folk who only buys games off Steam, it's available there as well as GOG, and either way it's not that expensive. Go and buy it for God's sake.